I didn't think my first real problem in this neighborhood would be a woman named Denise Walker. Denise, the self-appointed queen of Maple Hill Estates, took one look at my car. Okay, not just any car, the Batmobile, decided it was an eyesore. And because she fancied herself a one-woman suburban militia, she had it towed. She had no idea it was wired with surveillance equipment for an active federal investigation. Now her HOA is under federal scrutiny, she's being sued, and I'm just getting warmed up. Let me back up. That's me standing in my driveway fuming. Just found out that Denise had also tapped into my private well to water her hydrangeas. What did I do? I flushed her illegal irrigation system with sewage. Yeah, I wasn't playing around. But to understand how we got here, you've got to rewind a few months. 3 months ago, I moved into a generic, master-planned community just outside the city. You know the type: artificial lakes, overly enthusiastic joggers, and homeowners who wear matching fleece vests like it's a uniform. I wasn't here for the vibe. I was deep undercover, running surveillance on a white-collar real estate laundering ring. Don't ask me what agency, I won't answer. Just know the badge is real, and so were the stakes. As part of my cover, I needed a vehicle that screamed eccentric but harmless. So naturally, I commissioned a full-scale replica of the 1989 Batmobile. Kids loved it, adults rolled their eyes, and no one suspected the surveillance tech buried under its fiberglass skin: 4K cameras, encrypted storage drives, and a suite of audio recorders. It was mission control on wheels. I kept it parked inside my garage, biometric lock and all. Didn't drive it much, just enough to stay in character. Even so, it drew attention. And that's where Denise enters the story. I met her on day 2. I was adjusting one of the external cameras when I heard a sharp, deliberate clack of heels on pavement. There she was, platinum blonde bob, clipboard in hand, and the energy of a middle manager who'd just discovered color-coded spreadsheets. She didn't bother introducing herself properly. Just squinted at the Batmobile through the cracked garage door and said, "That can't be street legal." I gave her the smile I save for sticky situations and said, "It's for charity events. Make-a-wish stuff. Kids love it." Wrong move. Denise scribbled something in a notepad and muttered, "We can't have that monstrosity ruining property values." I wanted to remind her that the HOA board wasn't a branch of the federal government, but I let it go. Locked the garage, went inside, and hoped that was the end of it. It wasn't. Over the next few weeks, Denise made herself a permanent fixture on my street. She fined a neighbor for putting up Halloween decorations in September, chastised a veteran for flying an overly aggressive American flag, and tried to ban wind chimes. But her obsession with the Batmobile? That went to another level. First came the passive-aggressive notes taped to my door. Then an official-looking HOA citation slid under my mat. The problem? My property was technically outside HOA jurisdiction. It was a carve-out in the original zoning, something I checked before buying. At the next community meeting, while Denise was lecturing people about hedge heights, I stood up. "You don't have authority over my lot," I said calmly. She laughed nervously and said, "Oh, sweetheart, we're all part of the community. No one gets special treatment." I wasn't asking for special treatment. I just didn't want my cover blown by a suburban dictator. Things escalated fast. I got hit with city notices, noise complaints, expired vehicle tags, even a sanitation violation. All traceable to Denise. Then, one Friday, I came home to an empty garage. The Batmobile was gone. There was no break-in. No damage. Just an official-looking towing notice tacked to the wall. Vehicle removed for community safety. It read, "Signed by Denise Walker, HOA President." I stood there, stunned. My surveillance equipment, encrypted drives, all gone. With one reckless, arrogant act, she had compromised a federal operation. I called the towing number. Got bounced around, then hung up on. She had made it personal. I filed the report within the hour. My agency pulled backup surveillance from a mailbox post rig. The footage was crystal clear, Denise directing the tow truck driver, grinning like she was starring in a suburban opera. The operation was paused. My team was furious. She didn't just annoy the wrong guy, she entered felony territory. Later that night, I stared at my monitors, watching her smug face over and over again. She thought she'd won. She was wrong. The next morning, I got a text from a neighbor, Joe Jenkins, a retired mechanic who mostly kept to himself. "Hey, did you know Denise is using your well water to water her lawn?" I checked my logs. He was right. She'd tapped into my private well. During a drought. I reviewed the footage and found it, her landscaper digging into my property, snaking a hose into my irrigation system while Denise supervised like Caesar sending troops into Gaul. That was theft. Water theft during a restriction is a criminal offense. So I responded in kind. I rerouted my irrigation through a filtration tank, then flushed the line with a custom mix of compost runoff and high-potency sewage. By the next afternoon, her prized tulips looked like they'd been dropped in a swamp. The smell? Indescribable. The lawn browned and sagged. She came outside wailing like she'd been attacked with chemical weapons. A city inspector followed the hose back to my well. His face when he told her she'd committed utility theft was priceless. He fined her on the spot. But that wasn't the end. I had bigger plans. I compiled a dossier: photos, witness statements, surveillance clips. Every infraction Denise had committed. And then I started talking. Quietly. Carefully. Turned out, I wasn't the only one she'd bullied. A veteran was fined for a mailbox flag. A young couple was charged $500 for non-conforming decorative rocks. An elderly couple had a voicemail of her screaming about early Halloween decor. Pattern? You bet. Same towing company. Same landscaper. Same tiny cabal of board members rubber stamping her every whim. Turns out, her cousin owned the landscaping business. Her nephew ran the security patrol. It was all a scam and embezzlement racket hiding behind fake rules. I took it to Tyler, an old field ops buddy. He looked at my file and said, "This isn't just petty. This is organized fraud." We rerouted the investigation. Meanwhile, Denise kept at it. Sent me another violation, this time for overly dark window tint. I showed up at the next emergency board meeting wearing a suit. Introduced myself to the room. "Hi, I'm Logan Harris, former federal prosecutor, current federal investigator, recent victim of illegal property seizure. You could have heard a pin drop." I calmly explained the jurisdictional issues, the financial irregularities, and the criminal exposure. Then I looked directly at Denise. "Care to explain why HOA checks were deposited into your cousin's business account?" Chaos. Neighbors started talking. One handed me HOA dues that had doubled with no vote. Another showed me forged election paperwork. I compiled everything. Within days, Denise's cousin's tow yard got a surprise visit. Within a week, a federal inquiry into HOA finances. Within 10 days, a quiet investigation into Denise herself. And she still had no idea it was me. She kept trying to spin it PR flyers with her photo, sob stories about outside agitators. Even called the Batmobile a symbol of suburban extremism. It backfired. Badly. A neighbor photoshopped the Batmobile dropping HOA fines from the sky. Went viral on the local subreddit. Ridicule replaced fear. Then the subpoena landed. She opened the door to find a federal agent in a windbreaker. Served her in broad daylight. The neighbors noticed. She tried to host a unity event. Nobody came. I walked by with iced coffee, gave her a nod. She glared. Said nothing. The city froze all HOA activity. No more fines. No more meetings. Denise was officially removed. Her empire crumbled. The Batmobile? I got it back. Shined up and parked right where it belonged, garage door open just enough for her to see. She tried to file another complaint. Claimed it was a symbol of male aggression. The city ignored her. They were prepping for her court date. Fraud. Embezzlement. Utility theft. Tax evasion. Even her tax filings were fake. Her husband had used a veteran exemption he no longer qualified for. And finally, the trial. The courtroom was packed. Denise looked like a ghost of her former self, frizzy hair, trembling hands. I sat in the back, calm, coffee in hand. She tried to blame me, said I had hacked her. Judge shut her down. Prosecutor laid out the evidence. Dozens of witness statements. Forgeries. Bank records. I was called last. I confirmed the operation, the compromise, and the truth. Denise had torpedoed herself. The jury took less than 2 hours. Guilty. On all charges. She was let out in cuffs. The neighbors cheered. And I? I went home, opened my garage, and polished the Batmobile. Because in the end, when the smoke cleared and the fraud collapsed, it wasn't just justice. It was personal. And Denise Walker never saw it coming.